and it was going to be hazardous, which would cost a lot more to dispose of. Also, when you are dealing with trash, if you've got a computer or a head of lettuce, doesn't matter what you've got in here, when it dumps out, it's probably, except for little hearing aid batteries, which are horrible, or other tiny little things like that, you probably can see it. You can probably identify it. When it turns to ash and it goes anywhere it wants to, you don't know what it is or where it is. It kind of reminds me of a virus. It's pretty tiny. So this was our environmental argument. This, along with the fact that we were burning up resources. And it meant to bring the poster. Tonight says, if you're not recycling, you're throwing it all away. And these were resources, I pointed out last week in Don's talk that an aluminum can, if anybody in this room throws an aluminum can away in my presence, it's not going to be pretty. And researching for energy values of a lot of products that we throw away, I located the information that if you filled an aluminum can with half full of gasoline, that's how much energy it took to make that aluminum can. So you can imagine how much energy and how many resources we are throwing away. Aluminum being the most recyclable and most valuable item in the trash. Anyway, and I'm welcome a hook at any time, but the entire issue began to really split the community. The purpose of the authority was to finance, plan, and construct an incinerator in which solid waste generated by the citizens would be burned. Initially, the plan was to use the heat generated by the university, and then when that was decided against, the heat was going to be used to generate electricity, and sales arrangements were made with public utilities. So we were getting committed even more. And during the 1986, as the public began to gather its moths and roll along with this thing and all the different sightings, the bonds were due to be refinanced, and so they were refinanced at the end of 1986. And along with it refinancing came FDIC insurance. So this says that as a further condition of the issuance of the bonds and insurance policy, the Fayetteville City Attorney sent an opinion letter to the trustee, Union National Bank of Little Rock, stating that the City of Fayetteville was unconditionally obligated under the terms of the contract known as the Waste Supply Agreement, entered into on December the 22nd, 1986, to charge, collect, and pay from sanitation and fund revenues fees due under the agreement, not only owed as a result of the waste generated by the City of Fayetteville, but also any such fees not paid by the other parties, and that this obligation continued whether the project was completed or not. So what this meant was that the incinerator had to be fed, and the more the better, and it competed, as I said, with recycling, but it had to have this constant fueling because it was producing, it had to have the BTUs in order to produce what it had contracted to produce. So this is a self-fulfilling prophecy on this machine. And they threw us a bone. They said, oh, well, you can have a recycling bin at the incinerator if people can bring their stuff too if you want to. Well, number one, nobody's going to do it, and number two, if they needed that BTU, they could have just hauled it in and dumped it in the incinerator. So that wasn't going too well as far as trying to placate our concerns over recycling.